It's getting crazy. It's getting spooky real fast. Very, very fast. I told y'all, people have had enough. All of y'all in the Indiana Fever organization who have been lying about this girl injury, not being transparent, and all these things that the fans are feeling, the fans are speaking back. They do not appreciate it. They feel scammed, they feel lied to, and they feel used.
The Indiana Fever's front office and head coach Stephanie White seem to believe their fans are fools. They spun a story about Caitlin Clark's injury so simple, so convenient, that they thought no one would dare question it. But they forgot one crucial detail in today's world: the receipts always surface. And now, a mountain of evidence from fan footage to glaring timeline contradictions suggests this wasn't just a medical update, it was a poorly executed cover-up. The lies are so obvious that they've sparked more than just fan anger. They've raised the chilling possibility of a major investigation into deceptive consumer practices, leaving everyone asking if they were conned into buying tickets and merchandise under completely false pretenses.
Urge DOJ and FTC to investigate WNBA's misleading practices. Wow. So we are here now. And what's crazy about all of this is that, guys, this is I'm not going to come on here and say that they're going to lose, because if there was an investigation going into this team, they're not going to lose this investigation. Oh, they're going to win. Whoever is representing Caitlin is going to win.
This is far more than a simple communications blunder. It's a full-blown integrity crisis for the Indiana Fever. Stephanie White stood before the cameras and confidently laid out a neat, tidy narrative of Clark's injury timeline, expecting the world to nod along. The problem is, her story immediately fell apart under the slightest scrutiny. When the dates you provide are proven false by video evidence, your credibility evaporates. This isn't just about one lie, it's about the trust between a team and the fan base that fuels its existence. And right now, that trust is shattered into a million pieces.
The Caitlin Clark injury situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could be. And that's coming on the heels of it seeming to be pretty clear when Clark would return to the court, or about when she would return to the court. It was said on the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that Stephanie White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open portion of practice, Clark is not seen. And Stephanie White afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is back at practice.
Let's go back to the beginning of the deception. After dealing with a groin injury in July, Caitlin Clark was expected to be ramping up for a return by late August. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, a new injury appeared. The official team statement was surgically precise. Caitlin Clark sustained an ankle injury during a team workout around August 7th. It was a perfect, no-fault story, but then the internet did what the internet does best. A photograph surfaced from that exact same day, showing Clark strolling through Phoenix, a designer Prada bag on her arm, looking more like she was heading to a fashion shoot than recovering from a fresh injury. She moved with ease, no limp, no brace, no hint of discomfort. The evidence was undeniable.
Well, what changed? Right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seem to point in the direction of Clark returning soon. Even Natasha Howard saying, "See you soon, Cece." Now it's like, wait and see. And there's further information coming out that Clark suffered a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another reporter is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little bit more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star is going to return to the floor this season, or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as if some patience hasn't been expressed.
Instead of admitting the mistake or clarifying the timeline, Stephanie White and the Fever organization made a fatal error. They doubled down. This is where the situation descended from a PR misstep into a full-blown circus. Reporters who should be holding the team accountable, like Scott Agnes, went on camera and recounted the team's story, not with journalistic skepticism, but with open laughter. It wasn't a nervous chuckle. It was the sound of someone sharing an inside joke, as if Clark's injury was nothing more than a funny anecdote. This wasn't just unprofessional, it was a deeply insulting gesture to a fan base worried about their superstar.
The Indiana Fever's got $1 billion entity on their team. $1 billion damn dollars. And they're a bunch of clowns, a bunch of bozos. You guys look completely incompetent and unprofessional. The way this has been handled, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. Look, and look, they can't say anything about conspiracy theories. You're complicit in creating them because you won't be open and you won't be honest.
This is precisely why the Fever's credibility is in an uncontrollable freefall. It's standard practice for sports teams to control the narrative around injuries, but what they did crossed a line from strategic spin to an outright lie. To then have a media member laugh about it while repeating the lie feels like a coordinated message to the fans. We think you're gullible enough to believe this, and frankly, we find it amusing. But fans are not gullible. They are passionate, they are observant, and in the age of social media, their collective memory is permanent.
You got this video right here that a lot of you have already seen. I just saw it in the last couple of days of Caitlin getting stepped on by a coach right there on the left.
Stepped on by the coach, and I think she's going to be all right based upon the grin on her face. But
the left foot, the one that's got the issue, she got stepped on. And today, I'm not even going to say Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans are crashing out at a different level. And I don't blame them. I don't.
And now we arrive at the piece of the puzzle. The Fever desperately wants everyone to forget the moment assistant coach Brianna January was caught on camera, stepping squarely on Caitlin Clark's foot during a game. That incident didn't just vanish, it was conveniently buried beneath the fabricated workout injury narrative. Suddenly, the timeline wasn't just messy, it was impossible. So which story is true? Was it a freak accident in a private workout? Or was Clark injured by a member of her own coaching staff in plain sight? If it's the latter, this transcends bad luck and becomes an issue of pure negligence.
Assistant coach Brianna January literally stepped on Caitlin Clark's foot during a game. That incident didn't disappear. It just got buried under this fake workout narrative. Suddenly, the day she got hurt doesn't match the day fans saw something happen. So which is it? Was it an innocent workout mishap? Or was Clark injured by the very staff meant to protect her? And if it's the latter, then this is bigger than bad luck. It's negligence. Negligence that could absolutely trigger a major investigation.
You guys have said Caitlin Clark was day-to-day for I don't know how long. You guys have fabricated timelines on her injury many times throughout this season. And the people have just flat out had enough. And it's gone so far.
In the middle of this swirling storm of lies is Caitlin Clark herself, seemingly a hostage of her own team's PR machine. She has been pushed in front of microphones to repeat the same sanitized talking points over and over. Working hard, feeling good, just an unlucky situation. The words are hollow, the delivery robotic. It doesn't sound like the authentic, fiery competitor who captivated the nation. It sounds like a script drafted by a crisis management team. Fans can immediately tell the difference between genuine optimism and forced damage control, and this reeks of the latter.
This practice isn't just disappointing, it's deceptive. Fans invested their hard-earned money in tickets, streaming packages, and merchandise under the belief that they were being given honest information. Instead, it appears coordinated efforts were made between the league and team communications to present a facade of hopeful updates, masking the true status of a beloved player's injury.
Let's be perfectly clear, Clark is not just some rookie anymore. She is the league's biggest asset, a second-year phenomenon who has single-handedly driven ticket sales and television ratings to historic heights. Yet, she is being treated like a disposable pawn in a clumsy and disrespectful cover-up. Imagine for a moment if an assistant coach for the Lakers or the Warriors had injured LeBron James or Steph Curry, and the team then lied about how it happened. It would trigger a 24/7 news cycle, immediate league-led investigations, and almost certainly cost people their jobs. But in the WNBA, the response has been a deafening silence.
7 coverage, immediate investigations, and probably terminations. But in the WNBA, silence. No accountability, no transparency, just reporters acting like unpaid interns for the team.
Everybody's been hanging on. And even worse, everybody's been spending money on this team, which looks like a damn scheme at this point. The Indiana Fever know people have been spending money on tickets and travel and blah, 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 thinking that Caitlin Clark was her anticipated comeback. People tuning in and showing up at games, they need to understand that was because the idea, the aura that Caitlin Clark was coming back to lead this team into the playoffs.
The Fever's reputation is now in shreds, and Stephanie White is standing at the epicenter of the explosion she created. Her attempt to mislead fans wasn't just careless, it bordered on fraudulent. When you build entire marketing campaigns around a superstar, selling tickets, promoting broadcasts, and pushing merchandise, you have an obligation to be truthful about her status. Deliberately misleading consumers about her health isn't just bad ethics. It's a textbook example of a deceptive consumer practice, the kind of action that attracts the attention of regulatory bodies and attorneys.
Goes on to say fans felt excited when they purchased tickets, believing they'll watch Caitlin Clark shine on the court. However, that excitement turned to disappointment as misleading injuries kept fueling false hopes that she had played the WNBA. And hold up, damn, is they finna get her for line? Is they finna get her for line to the fans? Oh my God, hold up, the WNBA and Indiana Fever Indiana Fever have repeatedly engaged in what seems to be a strategic ploy to drive ticket sale and merchandise sales by suggesting that Caitlin Clark return was on the horizon. Holy-ish right now, bro. Oh my God, it's about to get red.
And this leads to the most explosive theory now circulating among the fan base. What if none of this was an accident? Clark entered the league as a force of nature, but from day one, the narrative was pushed that she needed to get bigger, stronger, and bulk up. So what if she was pushed into a muscle-gaining regimen her body wasn't ready for, leading to a breakdown? That wouldn't be bad luck. It would be catastrophically bad planning. And in a situation like that, the blame would fall squarely on Stephanie White and her training staff, giving them every reason to invent a cover story.
I feel like they were lying about her injury as far as like the severity of it. I think it's a really bad injury. I think when they rushed her back that one time, I think she hurt it even more and it pushed the timeline back.
Trying to come back and come back quickly. She needs to make sure that she's 100%. Her competitor wants to play. We're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
As bad as it might sound, I think it might be like a season-ending level type of injury and they're hoping to get in the playoffs and they can somehow get her during the playoffs.
The trust is so broken that fans are now openly calling for Caitlin Clark to ditch the Fever's entire medical and training staff and go back to the doctors she worked with at Iowa, and who could possibly blame them? If the front office is willing to lie about something as fundamental as when and how their star player got hurt, what else are they hiding? Are they downplaying the true severity of the injury? Are they secretly planning to rush her back to salvage ticket sales for the end of the season? These are no longer paranoid conspiracies. They are legitimate questions born from the team's own dishonesty.
And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing, so they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
Stephanie White genuinely seemed to believe she could walk up to a podium, flash a smile, and sell a fairy tale about a workout injury. But with every repetition, the story becomes less believable and the deception becomes more obvious. Each time she doubles down, she digs a deeper hole for herself in the franchise. Instead of protecting her star player, she has torched her own credibility and plunged the Fever into a scandal that grows bigger by the day, and the fans see it all. They've already watched Clark get battered by defenders, ignored by refs, and targeted by jealous rivals. Now they have to witness her being mishandled by her own team.
This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about.
Think about the sheer injustice of it all. You arrive as the most hyped women's basketball player in a generation. You shatter attendance records, you set new television viewership highs, and you carry the weight of an entire league on your shoulders. And your reward? Your own team lies about you when you're at your most vulnerable. This isn't just mismanagement, it's a form of professional malpractice. It's how you risk ruining a generational talent before she even reaches her full potential.
Where someone this valuable suffers an injury and you don't tell people about it until 2 weeks later, once speculation about Caitlin Clark starts running rampant. Once people start finally muster up the courage to say, hey, this is weird. Caitlin Clark has disappeared and vanished. She doesn't talk to reporters. We're getting no legitimate information from anybody in the Indiana Fever organization. This is the biggest star in sports.
This matters far beyond the city of Indiana, because Caitlin Clark is the WNBA right now. She is the engine driving the league's growth. Her name on the marquee is the reason arenas sell out and casual fans tune in. When you remove her from the equation, the entire ecosystem suffers. Attendance drops, ratings plummet, and those multi-million-dollar corporate sponsorships suddenly feel a lot less secure. That's why this cover-up isn't just a PR problem, it's a potential consumer fraud crisis. If you're selling the promise of Caitlin Clark while knowing she has no chance to play, you are engaging in false advertising.
Look, anybody who saw this could have maybe thought something was up. Brianne January stepping on Caitlin Clark here. August 9th. Left ankle. That's where the bone bruise supposedly happened. On August 7th, which is what is being shared now. And, you know, some of these things you hear rumblings about, and you don't know exactly what's going on.
And let's not ignore the suspicious timing of it all. Just as Clark was hitting her stride, and the Fever were finally showing signs of becoming a competitive team, this mysterious injury brings everything to a screeching halt. The momentum they had built is now completely gone. Whether it was intentional or just a result of incompetence, the outcome is the same: sabotage. Stephanie White didn't just lie, she made the consequences of that lie 10 times worse by refusing to come clean.
WNBA, y'all have to figure it out. The people have had enough. I'm going to let you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is picking up steam, and it's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. All because you guys refuse to be transparent about Caitlin Clark injuries and injuries around the league.
This incident feels like the culmination of a culture of disrespect that has surrounded Caitlin Clark since the moment she was drafted. From referees swallowing their whistles on hard fouls to commentators constantly nitpicking her game, she has been under attack from all sides. Now, to have her own coach join in by fabricating stories about her health feels like the ultimate betrayal. It's almost as if the establishment is terrified of her transcendent stardom and is looking for any way to diminish her. But with every attempt to knock her down, her fanbase only grows more fiercely loyal.
Lawsuits. Fans, y'all, we might have a case here. We might have a case to sue not only the Indiana Fever, but the WNBA for misleading us, having us thinking Caitlin Clark was going to come back, because we all remember when Stephanie White was on ESPN, she stated Caitlin Clark was on her way to come back and practice and get ready to make a return of a lifetime to the Indiana Fever. Oh, yeah, she said that when around the 12th. Well, judging off your sources, if she got hurt around the 7th, you knew prior to you going to ESPN that Caitlin Clark wasn't coming back when you said she was going to come back. You're lying. You're lying and you're misleading, and it's looking real spooky. And I'm happy the fans are standing up.
Still, we cannot ignore the danger here. Caitlin Clark is a human being, not a machine. Every mishandled injury, every rushed recovery, and every deceptive media spin chips away at the longevity of her career. The nightmare scenario is that the WNBA's brightest star is forced into an early decline because her own team was more concerned with covering their tracks than protecting her health. If that happens, the backlash against Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever won't just be angry tweets, it will be a historic stain on the entire league.
All right? People have been trying to stay invested because the GOAT was supposed to be coming back. I mean, seriously. So let's just take a little of the temperature in the room. I'm not happy with the Fever front office and their fan communications. I have tickets I paid for months ago to go to next Tuesday's game. I have airline tickets. I have hotel, restaurant reservations made.
By choosing to lie, Stephanie White has already guaranteed her own downfall. She didn't just try to hide the details of an injury, she lit the fuse on a bomb. Now every word she says is scrutinized. National reporters are beginning to circle, and once they decide to dig into this story, it will explode. When that happens, the Fever won't just be dealing with an angry fan base, they could be facing defecting sponsors, a media firestorm they can't control, and even a formal investigation into their practices.
They've put out some information to throw us off the trail. This is part of the cover-up of there's something weird going on with Caitlin Clark. She's been put in a position to where it's best for her. It's been explained to her. Hey, for your mental health, we got to keep you away from the cameras, away from the media. We have to keep you off the court because you struggle.
This isn't just about bad optics. It's about potentially illegal activity. Selling a product, whether it's tickets, broadcasts, or merchandise, on the back of a superstar while knowingly misrepresenting her availability is the very definition of consumer fraud. If regulators or watchdog groups decide to take a closer look, the Indiana Fever and Stephanie White won't just be in a PR crisis, they'll be answering to investigators.
I am devastated that Sophie Cunningham is now out, and I would like to know if Caitlin Clark will be playing. It's not too much to ask. The Fever need to be more transparent. Absolutely. Absolutely. I shared that. A lot of fans are in this exact situation. Come on. If Caitlin Clark is gone for the year, it's time to show a pair and admit it. Admit it. I got to tell you guys, it's time to go to Fever social media and began demanding, is Caitlin Clark coming back this year or not?
The pattern of communication between league officials and team medical reports raised concerns of coordinated misrepresentation rather than independent, factual reporting. The coordinated messages suggest an underlying intent to protect revenue streams at the expense of fan loyalty and trust. Economic harm has been inflicted on countless fans who, based on false pretenses, spent money they have not otherwise parted with. They might not have otherwise parted with if they had known Caitlin Clark wouldn't be taking the court.
The most tragic part of this whole affair is that Caitlin Clark knows. She's too intelligent not to see that the timelines don't add up, and the official story is a sham, but she is trapped. If she calls out her own coach and franchise mid-season, she'll be labeled difficult or a diva. She's being silenced within her own story, forced to nod and smile while a false narrative is built around her. Where this goes next is anyone's guess. But when the dust settles, Stephanie White will regret underestimating the intelligence of the fans, the power of the media, and the very real possibility of an investigation that could rock the WNBA to its core.